All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to journey deep into the cliffs of southern Georgia to explore a place that honestly seems like it's straight out of a fantasy novel. It's a city, a whole kingdom carved out of solid rock, the incredible cave city of Vardzia. And, this isn't some dusty, forgotten ruin. It's a living place. To this day, there's a small group of monks, just 5 of them, who actually call this mountain home. And every single morning, a bell rings out from these ancient caves, a real living heartbeat in a city made of stone. So this just begs the question, right? How in the world did they pull this off back in the 12th century? And maybe even more important, what could possibly motivate a kingdom to build an entire sanctuary hidden inside a mountain? Let's dig in. To really get a handle on the sheer scale of Vardzia, you have to think vertically. I mean, we're not talking about a few dozen caves here. This was a full-blown metropolis, painstakingly excavated from the side of the Urushidi mountain. The city climbs up and up and up, an unbelievable 19 separate tiers high into the cliff. Just try to picture a modern high-rise building, but instead of being built with steel and glass, it's carved out of the earth itself. It's wild. And it's not just how high it goes, it's how wide it is. The whole complex stretches for about half a kilometer, or around 500 meters, and it's made up of roughly 500 different caves. A true hidden city, in every sense of the word. But here's the thing, Vardzia wasn't just some crude bunker. It was a totally self-sufficient, bustling community. I mean, they had chapels, a pharmacy, and get this, 25 wine cellars. And we're not talking about a small shelf. They had 185 massive clay jars buried in the floors for fermenting wine. That points to a huge operation, which makes sense since wine has always been central to Georgian culture. It had everything a city needed to survive, all tucked away inside the rock. Okay, so a project this massive, an engineering feat of this scale, it doesn't just appear out of thin air. It takes incredible power, resources, and a ton of vision. And this all happened during what's known as Georgia's Golden Age, led by 2 really remarkable royals. So here they are, the power duo behind it all. On the left, you've got King Georgi III, who got the whole thing started. And on the right, his daughter, the legendary Queen Tamar, who took over, finished the job, and really turned it into the cultural soul of her kingdom. There's this really charming legend about how the site even got its name. The story goes that a young Tamar was out hunting with her uncle, King Georgi, and she got lost in all the new caves. When he called out for her, she shouted back, "Ark Vardzia," which in Georgian means, "I am here, uncle." And, well, the name Vardzia just stuck. Now, the construction didn't happen overnight. It was really done in 4 main stages. It kicked off under King Georgi, then Queen Tamar took over and commissioned the spiritual heart of the city, the Church of the Dormition. After that, they added fortifications and expanded it, and then there was a final phase of rebuilding after a major natural disaster, which we'll definitely get to in a minute. All right, let's go to the most important part of this whole massive complex, because carved right into the center of it all is its beating heart, the Church of the Dormition. And this wasn't just another chapel. It was the absolute spiritual and architectural focus of the entire community. Its grand arches, hewn right from the rock, made it the central point for everyone living there. But believe it or not, the real treasure is inside. The walls are just covered in these magnificent paintings, and they're not just beautiful. They are critically important to understanding the history of Georgian medieval art. It's like a breathtaking art gallery, perfectly preserved for centuries by the cool, dry cave air. And among all these incredible frescoes, there's this one portrait. Now, this is a huge deal. It's the earliest of only 4 known portraits of Queen Tamar. And it's so much more than a painting. It's actually a historical key that helps us unlock Vardzia's precise timeline. This is where historians basically turned into detectives, reading the clues in the painting itself. So you can see Tamar has a halo and a crown, showing her royal and almost holy status. But the biggest clue is what she's not wearing, the specific ribbon that was an attribute of a married woman. And that one little detail tells us the painting had to have been finished before her marriage in 1186. It's an amazing piece of historical sleuthing. For a long time, Vardzia was this powerful symbol of the kingdom's strength, a hidden sanctuary totally protected from the outside world. But that protection was about to be tested in the most extreme ways, not just by invading armies, but by the very earth it was carved from. People at the time thought it was invincible. One Persian chronicler even called it a wonder, saying it was impregnable as the wall of Alexander the Great. So it had this legendary reputation. But as we know, legends are always challenged. And in the end, two powerful forces brought about its downfall. First, in 1283, a devastating earthquake ripped through the region. It shattered the cliff face, destroyed more than 2/3 of the city, and ripped the facade right off, exposing all the hidden caves to the elements. Then, centuries later, the force of empire arrived. The monastery was brutally sacked by the Persians in 1551 and finally abandoned after an Ottoman takeover in 1578. But even though its golden age was over, that's not where the story of Vardzia ends, not by a long shot. Today, this incredible city stands as a powerful monument to faith, to culture, and to human resilience. The site is now a protected state heritage reserve, and it's being carefully preserved. Georgia has even submitted the entire Vardzia area to be included on the UNESCO World Heritage List to make sure its incredible legacy is protected for generations and generations to come. And that brings us right back to where we started. The great halls might be quiet now, and the royal chambers empty, but thanks to those dedicated monks who still live and worship here, the spirit of Vardzia is very much alive. The bells do still ring. So I think the real takeaway here is that Vardzia was so much more than a fortress. It was a sanctuary, literally carved from the earth, to protect an entire culture in its moment of greatest flourishing. And that just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What monuments, whether they're carved in stone or built in other ways, will our generation leave behind that say something about who we were and what we valued most?